Ladies and gentlemen, we're here with Jason Adamo and Doug Casteen. They are playing our show this evening in just a few minutes, actually, Friday, November 6th. Thank you guys for being here, and thank you for performing for us.
Thanks so much for having us.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
So go ahead and give us a little bit of background on, both of you guys and the Jason Adamo Band, as a whole, because I know there are more members that normally play with you when people are allowed to play together.
Yeah, right. Well, we were talking about the other night, Doug. It was about 2008, 2009. I was hosting an open mic at the now several times over. It's changed names and restaurants, but it used to be called the Blue Martini in Raleigh, off of West Street. And Doug strolled in with our good buddy Greg Nelson, and I'd never met Doug before, never heard him play guitar, and he signed up to play a few songs at my open mic. And I heard him play, and I said, I don't know if you're in a band, but you're in one now, if you want to be. And that was almost 12 years ago now. Before that, I was already playing with a friend of ours named Fabio Consani, who was a harmonica player. And he and I were playing around as kind of like an acoustic duo. And then when Doug joined the trio, I guess at that point, we decided to get a little bit more serious and record an album. And we enlisted local producer John Briggs. Back in 2010, we put out the record Transistor, and that officially formed the Jason Adamo Band.
Well, it's funny you mentioned about the Blue Martini. I met Cedric right around that same time too, with Greg in tow.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember it was the open mic at I can't think of the name of the place right now, but they. At the Berkeley, and they had a Wednesday night, I think it was. They had an open band, open mic, and I remember watching Cedric play, and I was like, "I'm going to be in a band with that guy someday." And then you made it happen.
So I grew up in Southwest Virginia, and to me, like we were mentioning earlier about Roanoke, Virginia, that was like the big city for me, because Blacksburg's a small college town. So but my family's originally from the New York area, like Long Island, Brooklyn area. Having not grew up there, I always wanted to live up there. So when I was about 21 or so, I moved up to the city. So we're talking about, like I can tell you about the music scene in New York City back in the early 2000s.
Ooh.
That's when I was living up there and playing all up and down Bleecker Street and Greenwich Village and stuff.
Oh, wow.
The music scene in New York was crazy because I was so young and so naive and so broke. I'd literally take my guitar and knock on the venues on Bleecker Street and say, "Hey, can I audition for you? And can I try to get a gig here?" And that's just how I thought things were done, and it worked for a few venues. I got into the scene there, and once you got your foot in the door at one club on Bleecker Street, you could play up and down there. If you were decent, they would book you at the other places. So that was fun and everything, but I was too young and too naive to really do anything real there.
Jason also busked in the subways in New York, right?
Okay.
Yeah, that was one thing that I really a big takeaway for me was I always tell the story of how lightly I used to sing, and I didn't project my voice very well. And Doug jokes now that I should be an opera singer because of the way I project my voice. But the main takeaway I got was how much I had to really put my voice out there to sing over the subway cars and the crowd, and to really get heard, to get people to pay attention. And that was really, really eye-opening for me. It's like, oh, I can actually project my voice. I didn't know I could do that. But it also helped me make rent a couple times playing in the subways. But the cool thing about the subway platform is you got a new crowd every 5 minutes, literally. Yeah,
that's
so
true.
I could play one song and then like 5 minutes later play the same song and nobody would know the difference. But things were very different in 2013 when I moved to Nashville. And I was already kind of an established songwriter in the Raleigh area. And I already had some friends from Los Angeles and New York who also had relocated to Nashville. So when I moved to Nashville, I already had a network of people that I had either toured with or played or written songs with before.
Well, that helps.
So I was in a different frame of mind. And it helps to be in a better frame of mind when you're trying to take music seriously. New York was a lot of fun, I'll just say that, but Nashville was a little more work,
So Doug, you mentioned your music background and everything. I noticed on the website you pride yourself on having a very eclectic music background, musical tastes. Tell me a little bit about that, how you got like just interested in exploring so many different genres, and how do you like bring that to the band?
Yeah, right. There's always the one Doug song that's on the record that's kind of out there a little bit. I think for me, I mean, of course I grew up on the Beatles and Jimi Hendrix, right? And those influences never leave you. But I started, back then it was albums, right? So I would listen to an album as a kid, and I would read the liner notes, right? And then I would see who the musicians were. And then I started noticing that there's this core group of musicians that play in all of these, kind of like Raleigh, right? It's all intertwined. It's kind of a similar thing. And then I started following those guys rather than like the famous artist. And if I would see, you know, like a guitar player, Waddy Wachtel is on a James Taylor album. Oh, wait a minute. He's also on, you know, Warren Zevon's record. He's on whoever, Stevie Nicks.
Now you're not talking about studio musicians.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I am. Yeah, I'm
Okay.
talking about studio musicians, and they toured too. But and then I started following them, and they would play all kinds of different kinds of music. And then I was like, you know what? I would love to be a studio musician, right? And in order to be a well-rounded studio musician, you need to have a lot to draw from. So I started purposefully listening to all different kinds of music to just get influences. And besides, the music I listened to was pretty diverse. I mean, you know, the Beatles had a East Indian influence, you know, going back to the, you know, Help, that record. Right. And so I always listened to, you know, my mom always had classical music on when we were growing up. I just followed guitar players and musicians in wherever that took me, and tried to take it. So hopefully I kind of bring some of that diversity to what we do.
Definitely.
Who knows?
So it sounds like you guys have gotten to play with a lot of cool people over the years. Is there anybody in particular that really stood out?
So two that come to mind is Leon Russell. May he rest in peace. We got to open up for him at the Lincoln Theater. He's an incredible studio musician turned band leader for Joe Cocker and all these other accolades, etc. And then last 3 years ago, we got to play with Little Feat at the Pat McGee's Down the Hatch Festival.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome when Paul Breyer from Little Feat, and you're playing Dixie Chicken. You're playing Dixie Chicken with the guys from Little Feat, and he throws you a guitar solo. That's a pinch me moment right there. Yeah,
we owe the thanks to Pat McGee for we get to play Pat McGee's Down the Hatch Festival in the Outer Banks every year, except for this year, obviously. For the last almost 10 years, we got to play with some really amazing artists from around the country there. But yeah, for me, the Leon Russell gig was really, really cool.
I mean, that's the interesting thing. You know, you mentioned Pat McGee and Down the Hatch. I mean, we've met so many amazing songwriters. I know for me, I mean, it's just been an eye-opener for me to hang with those guys for 3 or 4 days and just kind of soak in what they're doing and see how they do what they do.
Like watching Glenn Phillips sing Walk on the Ocean, like next to the ocean.
At the ocean, yeah.
From Toe the Wet Sprocket.
That was
so
incredible.
Cool.
Yeah, and being able to talk to them, you know, and hang out and learn from them, and kind of feel like a contemporary of theirs in you know, in our own way.
Right.
It's sort of be accepted in that level of songwriters is amazing. It's like when we've been going to the NAMM show. How many times now? 8 times, and
probably like 7 or 8 times out of the last 10 years.
Yeah,
Bob, are you familiar with NAMM?
Oh, it's like CES for the music industry.
Right.
Okay.
And every January we go out to Anaheim. We play for a few amplifiers that Doug actually has an endorsement deal with. We've been playing out at NAMM with them or for them for the last 10 years or so.
Everybody's there. So everybody in the music industry, like Jason met Stevie Wonder out there and had sort of a mini concert that him and maybe 50 other people got to hear.
Yeah, like sitting this far away from Stevie Wonder and a piano with like 12 people in the room while he's just going through a song off the songs. What was the album? Songs in the Key of Life.
Oh, yeah.
I forget the exact song he played, but I was just like, goosebumps, hair sticking up in my arm.
But then you meet these people and you're like, God, they're real people.
Mm-hmm.
And they're gearheads, you know, and they're all there for the same reason you're there.
So tell us how you guys have been adapting to the COVID situation and, you know, not being able to perform live and all that stuff.
And when this COVID thing first hit, I started doing back deck concerts started off with my phone, and then I got a little bit more into it. I got my laptop involved and a mixing board and a microphone and stuff. But first, it was just my phone propped up and an acoustic guitar, and I started doing that every 2 days just to give people a break from, you know, working from home and all that stuff. And it started becoming something where people look forward to it. For a couple months there, I was doing it every 2 days, like religiously, and it was a great release for me to be able to connect with everybody still. And people were generous and donated tips and stuff, and Venmo'd me and stuff like that. And I tried to pay it forward and go on and hear my buddies doing the same thing and tip them from the money that people tipped me and stuff. So that was a way to stay connected in the very beginning. But since we hit phase 2, people started performing outside a little bit more. So we started playing some gigs here and there.
I sort of liken this summer playing outside. Kind of takes me back to high school, where we used to play a lot of backyard parties outside. And so, you know, we've done house concerts, playing in backyards, and sweating a lot. Not so much now, it's getting colder.
Yeah.
But it's kind of taken me back in my mind, you know, to those days, which is not a bad thing. It's fun to play in people's backyards.
Benjamin, his son, actually helped us with a music video for our album Looking Glass that we put out in May. We put a song together, or a video together for the song New Beginning.
Okay.
And he edited it together for us, and he's really good at that. But yeah, it was a quarantine style video where I shot my backyard, shot footage, you know, with a camera like this. And Doug had his green screen magic at his house. His looked way better than mine. And then I actually was able to go to the recording studio here in Raleigh and got some footage there, pretending like I was playing or recording the song there. And Benjamin put it all together, and I think he did a really good job.
Nice. So speaking of Looking Glass, I know that's your new album you guys got. I guess we'll start to wrap things up with that. Tell us a little bit about your new album and your future going forward, at least as far as any of us can predict what the future is these days.
Well, Looking Glass, we started recording it and writing it last year, and at the end of last year we went into the studio with our producer Mark McKee. Mark came in from Los Angeles and produced it, and before COVID we wrapped the whole production of it, which was good because we weren't able to see each other for quite some time.
Yeah, good time.
But the album cover, like we mentioned earlier, was done by George Hodge. The album cover is a butterfly with 2 eyes in the butterfly that were, when I sent a couple pictures of my mother, who passed away last year of cancer, and inspired the song Looking Glass, and thus the title Looking Glass of the album. I sent him a couple pictures of my mom to reshape the eyes on the album cover that Doug has. Doug, you can show that album cover.
Oh, wow.
So there's a little piece of my mom in the album cover there that George was able to reshape the eyes to look like hers. We, it's kind of like I mentioned earlier, all of these albums are little snapshots, if you will, of our lives at the time we record them or the time we write these songs. Mm-hmm. And this album is kind of like, as Doug put it in a couple other interviews we did, a love letter to my family because of the loss of my mom and the birth of my daughter, all happening within a year of each other. Wow. Which was a crazy roller coaster of emotions. So Looking Glass is kind of like I said, a snapshot in the time of mine and Doug's life, and Mark McKee's life, because he wrote a couple songs on it. But we were all excited about putting it out, and then boom, COVID happened, and we were like, oh, what do we do now? Should we still put it out? Or, I think ultimately I thought people really needed new music.
Well, Jason, I think what we have to do is do a re-release next year.
Yeah, we might have to do that.
if we get out playing next year.
Or the next year.
Yeah.
Well, that pretty much wraps it up. You know, this has been an awesome conversation. I appreciate you guys taking the time out to talk to me
Definitely.
ahead
Thanks
of
for having
time.
us.
And I'm really looking forward to the show. So I will get you out on this. This is the shameless plug section of the interview. Where can people find you and your work?
JasonAdamo.com. That's Adam with an O. You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all that good stuff. Doug, you have your own. Doug has his own musicians.
You can find me D Casteen musician or Doug Casteen musician on Facebook, and then D Casteen on Instagram, and then that'll have links to where to hear my music.
Oh, you can hear me on WQDR Sunday nights for Homegrown Carolina Country.
There you go.
At 9 o'clock.
Can't forget that one. Well, thank you guys again for talking with us, and thank you for doing these this concert. It's been wonderful to talk to you. I'm looking forward to the music, and I'm looking forward to the opportunity to going out and actually seeing you in a club sometime. And I hope after this performance, everybody in the audience is too. So
you'll be at our CD release show.
Awesome.
All right. Thanks a lot, Bob. Appreciate it.
Take care.
Great. Thank you.
You too.